Guys ready?
Yep, ready.
All right, welcome everybody to Sunbury Parks and Rec meeting for March 2nd, 2022. It's about 5:30 p.m. How about a call to order?
Tim Ghost,
Here.
Cindy Cooper,
Here.
Dave Martin.
Here. All present. Okay. Let's move to the minutes approval for last meeting, February 2nd, 2021.
Motion to approve.
Motion by Mr. Martin.
Second.
Second by Ms. Cooper. Discussion?
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper,
Yes.
Dave Martin.
Yes.
Minutes pass. Okay, let's go to visitors. We have, I think Jackie Haight is here with Source Point.
Yes, I'm assuming that you're all familiar with Source Point.
Somewhat,
Somewhat,
but
okay.
give us a brief overview if you don't mind.
Sure, so Source Point is the 55 and older program for the county, so we're levy funded. So about 80% of our funding comes through the senior service levy every 5 years. And so we're located off of Cheshire and Glen Parkway, kind of up close to 23, closer to Delaware. We have a huge facility. It's an enrichment center, so it's kind of like a rec center for anyone 55 and older. We have a cafe there. We have fitness. We have trainers and all sorts of fitness classes. We have travel, not only like day trips and within the United States, but international travel trips that they plan. We have an amazing arts program where they have all different types of programs that people can sign up for, and then just, scrappy crafters group that's just where they come in and do stuff and knitting and quilting and woodworking and all sorts of fun things. We have a billiards room, a pool. So it's really kind of a one-stop shop if you want to go and do things. Lots of people come in and play dominoes and cards and euchre and table tennis. Don't call it ping pong. Evidently, you're not supposed to do that. And so that's our kind of our fun side. The other side of Source Point is we serve older adults in the community that wish to age in place, stay in their home, or need any kind of care. So we have a staff of social workers that we call care consultants. And so if someone in the community needs help, you call and talk to our information referral folks. They'll set you up with an assessment with one of our care consultants, and then they'll determine, what type of services that you may need and set you up for those things. We are the Meals on Wheels program for the county. So we serve about 1,000 meals a day. I think it's almost 85% of our food is made from scratch in-house. So we have it's a pretty awesome program. We're not just dishing out frozen meals every day.
1,000 meals.
Yeah,
Wow, that is a lot.
Yeah, and so we have the cafe. We have about, I think it's over 32 routes. So in this area we have one that's called Sunbury Village. It's kind of more close to the city area. And then we have one that's called Cougar that goes all the way out to Westerville Estates, close to the New Albany line, and then move back down around the reservoir. So those are our two main routes out here. And then we have another one that's kind of more north of here. So we serve a lot of people in this community. And so it's definitely a needed program. And so we have community education in addition to our social workers, it's called our in-home care program. And so we have Medicare and Medicaid insurance classes to help people navigate through that system, which is my understanding is pretty complicated or can be. We have caregiver support. So we actually bring a caregiver program out to the library here. So people that are, in that situation have someone to talk to. We have Healthy You. So that's, related to healthy care for yourself, matter of balance. And then the program that I manage is also in the community education department, and it is called Age Friendly. And there's no quick elevator speech, but I'll just make it quick. Age Friendly is an international movement through the World Health Organization. And in the United States, it's affiliated through AARP Livable Communities. And really the whole premise is that our aging population in the next 10, 20, 30 years, it's going to be larger. 65 and older by I think 2020 will be larger than 18 and under for the first time in history. And this is globally, not just in the United States. So when you think about the care that people may need after 65, it's really about being proactive and creating some infrastructure and programs within communities to help with that. And, it can be simple things, it can be creative, it can be fun things. So we did a survey, it's a 5-year program. You do a survey in your community. So let's see, COVID gets me mixed up here. 2018, we sent out a survey to about 1,500 registered voters, just random. We had a 51% return rate, which was really awesome. Put together a assessment report. We partnered with the health district and the county commissioners in this. And then we rolled out that assessment. And from there, you really focus on domains of livability. So we looked at and kind of combined ours. So we're looking at outdoor spaces and buildings, communication and information, community engagement, housing, transportation, and then community support, health and safety services. So it really kind of hits everything that we're looking at to have a, safe, awesome place for people to live. Our big thing is, if it's a good place to live for someone that's 55 and older, then it's going to be a great place for younger people too. So it really applies to all ages, and a lot of the things that we do benefit everyone. In relation to your, I think, committee and outdoor spaces and in Sunbury. So I'm in the Sunbury Gleaner Rotary, so kind of getting involved and meeting people in the community, but our goal is to bring, again, things in the community that make sense. So I met with, did some focus groups in the community, did the Meals on Wheels routes, and we did a little survey with those folks in addition to our big survey. And I also met with the senior citizens group. And one of the things that they shared with me is when the paper went away, getting communication is difficult. So I know that with Olivia, you have a great Facebook and a way to get information out through the city, but if people don't have a computer or a smartphone, then how do they get their information? So, we try, and people that are clients from SourcePoint get information through us, but one of the things that, a strategy that we did was work with the school, because the Eagle Examiner goes out to every household in the district, and so that's a great way to reach people. So we buy ad space for 6 months of the year and put information and push it out that way. And then just getting involved in, different events in the community and trying to share information. But a couple of things that we're doing with outdoor spaces and buildings in some of the other communities, and one that we think is an easy fix, especially when you're looking at expanding your parks and some of, the spaces in Sunbury, is that we call them age-friendly benches. So it's just a regular bench, but it has a handrail. And so if you think about a bench that doesn't have handrails, for people that have mobility issues, it's hard to get up and down. So it's a super easy fix. You just order a bench or retrofit what you have with handrails, and it just really helps people, some people that may need that help. And so Preservation Parks jumped on board. They were on our domain group for outdoor spaces, and they said, gosh, why wouldn't we look at this in our parks? Went back and decided to retrofit everything they had, and then moving forward, any of their new parks that they put in, they're going to go ahead and put these benches in. So I think.
Who was your contact over there? Was it Tom Curtin at Pres Parks?
No, Rich Nickham.
Rich Nickham
Is one of my contacts, and he was actually on our domain group, so he would come to our meetings. Within the domain group, I had someone from the city of Delaware, Ted Miller, who's their Natural Resources and Parks Director, and I had Rich Nickham. I had someone from the Health District who was on the trail system committee, and Highway Trail, I think it was, yeah. So we had a couple different people that were, we looked to get stakeholders in the community in each of those spaces that made sense, and then we had people kind of say, hey, I'd love to get involved because this is of interest to me. So, but a couple other things we're doing with outdoor spaces. I know that you're, trying to connect your trails, so we're hoping within our cycle to get a quadrant map together that would include the trails in each kind of quadrant, and it would be, bike trails, walking trails, what's paved, what's gravel, because, again, if you have mobility issues, those are things that are important when you're going to do some exercise or just get outdoors and enjoy the weather. We are piloting 2 different programs, Dementia Friendly Powell and then Age Friendly Business in Delaware. So Dementia Friendly Powell, we partnered with Ganshorn Suites, which is a memory care facility. And it's kind of, the model is just thinking about simple things you can do in your restaurants, in your retail stores. We are Champion Business as a bank, and it's just going through a little bit of a training to understand what to look for with someone that has dementia. And if you have ever had a family member that has it, you kind of know about some of the signs and, you know, things that can happen. And so it's just a way to enable them to get out and go to a restaurant. So maybe it's a time during the day, 2 to 4, when the restaurants are less busy. They can kind of call that their dementia friendly time. And so caregivers can go and enjoy a meal and do things that they used to do that they like to do, but they are kind of feel inhibited now because of their situation. And so we have kind of a checklist of things with that program, and we're really kind of getting ready to push that out in Powell, and I've had some great input. So it's something that we hope to share the successes there and move to other communities such as a Sunbury or you know, Delaware. So that's something like feature that we're looking towards. And then Dementia Friendly Business has a similar feel. Again, it's just looking at if someone's coming into your retail store and it's super crowded and they can't get around, and they might be less likely to, you know, shop there because it's difficult. So just kind of looking at your spaces and making it more user friendly for people. And so that's something that we're doing in Delaware. And again, we have like a checklist of things, you know, to look at if you want to think about doing that. And then we have a decal for both of those programs that you put on your window so people know, oh, this is a dementia friendly space or age friendly business. And I think kind of one of the common denominators is if you look at the consumer buying power of those that are 60 and over, they spend a lot of money. And so why wouldn't you want to make your spaces friendly for them to come and visit and entertain, because they're going to be spending money there. So, so those are things that we're looking at within the outdoor spaces and buildings part of our program. We're in year, kind of year 3, we're implementing our strategic plan, and we have another year going. In year 5, you assess and pretty much start again. And so my goal is with the city of Sunbury growing and, you know, implementing more parks and things going on, that we hope to kind of expand some of the things that we're doing here. I know Olivia and I kind of talked about like a volunteer program that helps people that, you know, might need yard work done or you know, small work done on their home, whether it be inside or outside. So we think there's some really great things that we can partner and help with moving forward. So
have you connected with any churches? Because we had a guy here last month for our meeting from City North Church. And one of the things they're looking to do is get involved in helping elderly people with yard work kind of stuff and things like that. And I wondered if you guys could be a reference point, maybe even for something like that. So City North Church would be a place to.
Where is that located?
Well, it used to be the Sunbury Christian Church.
Oh, okay.
Over at Rainbow and
Yeah.
High Street. Because Sunbury Christian built a new church.
Right.
So they're in that building.
Yeah, so that's a great example. I mean, this is very collaborative in nature. This isn't just like Source Point doing this. I mean, every single thing in our strategic plan is there's many partners involved. And so even with funding, I mean, we've applied for some grants, and then we also had some corporate donations that have helped us do some of our initiatives. So that would, I would definitely reach out to them, because I think working together, we say it takes a village. We can't do this alone, but we know that, you know, that would be a good way to get it going for sure. I will reach out to them.
Okay.
Yeah, and I think Olivia or Steve would have the contact for that gentleman that was here.
Okay.
Yeah, he's in
We
the
can
minutes.
Look back in our
Andrew
notes.
Schultz.
Yeah, he was really nice, excitable gentleman, very passionate about wanting to help. So, other question or comment: your dementia-friendly Powell program. That seems very attractive program. My father-in-law is actually in the facility. It's dementia memory care.
Okay.
And so if I understand this correctly, your caregivers would show up on a certain time or day and maybe take the memory care folks out for an hour or two. Is that how you see it working, or how?
Yeah, so So our caregivers, or the caregiver would be the spouse or family member that would do that.
Okay.
So our staff of social workers are primarily, their case managers for people that need services. So they wouldn't be part of the dementia friendly piece. So it's really for you and I or anyone in the community that has someone in their life that has dementia. And so, we would advertise, hey, these are the spaces that are dementia friendly. So if you wanted to take your father-in-law to have something to eat, because that's something that he used to love to do, then you can know that you can go to serve from 2 to 4, and the lighting might be a little dimmer, not the bright lights. If it's a place that plays loud music, well, we're not going to have music during that time frame. So those are all stimuli that are difficult for people with, dementia-related issues. So it's looking at all those little things that they can do, and make it inviting. And again, it would be hard to do that at 4 or 5 o'clock at serve because it's always crazy busy. But maybe there is a time that it's a downtime for them, and they'd be willing to do that. So it's little things like that, and it just gives a little flexibility for people that used to be able to do different things and can't necessarily do them as much anymore.
I see. So your case managers basically identify, the recreational side, those locations, and then the business part, businesses too. Okay. Good deal. That's good stuff.
Is the cafe at Source Point open daily for people to come in when
Yes,
people
so-
are in there, or how
Yeah, so it's open to the public, and excitingly, I can say that I just got an email today, and we don't have to wear masks starting tomorrow at work, which I'm super excited about. And with that, in April, we've been slowly transitioning back to it's 5 days a week. So right now it's Monday, Tuesday, Friday, but in April it's going to be open 5 days a week.
Okay.
And back to
And
normal.
what hours?
It's 11:30 to 1.
Okay.
And so they always have a salad bar and a soup and then a hot entree. And they have a menu. I think our menu's up online too, so you can even see. And it's pretty inexpensive, and I will say it's really good food.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can.
And you could bring a date with me.
Yeah, it's a good place to have a meeting. Go grab lunch and have a meeting.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And if you
I've had the food there before, and I know it's very good.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
come check Source Point out. I mean, it's well worth the visit. We just have really a lot of awesome things. And I think, again, with the aging population and knowing, I used to live on Trenton Road, so I know this community, a lot of people don't know about it, or I can't get there. So those are things. Transportation is another thing I'm trying to figure out. And that's a statewide issue, but we're working with MARC-C and trying to work through some of that to get more resources for people that can't get that way too. So
I really like the handrail on the bench idea. That's
Okay,
something
so
we
cool.
can
great.
do here as well.
100%,
I think
yeah.
we're all in agreement that
Oh, yeah.
we'll pursue that as well.
We need, I was wondering, because our benches are around the square especially, they're all 4x4 composite planks
Mhm.
that are lined up just on a tubular steel. And so I was trying to figure out how we would attach a handrail to those. But I'm sure there's somebody out there creative enough that can come up with a plan for that.
Yeah, I think if you reach out, we just ordered some for a community garden that we're doing in Delaware, and there's so many benches that I had to go through and figure that out. But I think there are some that you can just get the metal handles, and actually I can hook you up with Preservation Parks, my contact there, because I know they were, I think, retrofitting some of theirs, so they probably have some insight on where to look for it. So
Okay.
Do we have a map or a mapping or an inventory of our benches around town?
No, I don't think so.
It's a nice little project.
One thing I was going to mention to you is when you get working on your quadrant map, regional planning has a very good map of the built environment, and we're working with MARC-C to update ours. So,
okay, good.
but
I have seen that. I feel like it's
so big.
it's so big, and it's something that's really hard to see. So I think we're trying to simplify it a little bit.
Okay.
With, if we're looking at Sunbury, like where are the trails? I mean, I love the trail that's all paved now, and so to let people know that exists. So figuring out, maybe not every single one, but some of the main
The
things
ones
that
that are-
people
okay.
utilize. So
We'll put that on our list, project list, okay? And we're here to help and collaborate in any way we can. Just reach out to any of us anytime.
Okay, I really appreciate that. Like I said, I think one of the big things is communication, and I know Libby and I have discussed that. It's just figuring out how to get the word out to folks.
Do you send out a monthly newsletter or anything? Maybe we could get on that email listserv or something.
So SourcePoint has a lot of stuff that's digital, but not necessarily that's snail mail. And so we do have our newspaper it's called The Communicator, and that's a quarterly. And I know we do put some in this area. Some go home through the mail. Some are put at some of like the local, like at the library and some of the other local places. And then anyone who's a client of ours that works through our in-home care that has a care consultant, they get a monthly newsletter sent to them, and so they get information too.
I meant digitally, like for us, that we could get on like an email list where we would get information.
Yeah, I mean, we send stuff out through our website all the time, so we can put you on our list for sure. I can talk to Olivia about that and make sure.
Maybe you could give her our email addresses, Olivia. Thank you.
So you know what's going on, 'cause we always have something going on for sure, so.
And then we can share it.
Yeah, that sounds great.
We're working on a building that we hope to have a multi-use function on the one floor of it.
Okay.
If we were to hit a critical mass in terms, and I don't know what that is for you, if we had 10 folks that are members and meet your age criteria, would you consider ever having a remote, whether that be painting needlepoint or any kind of a program like that? You know,
Yes.
maybe once a month or once every other month, or
Yes.
when we hit the critical mass.
So we're in the process of developing our next strategic plan, and I know we've already been approached by Orange Township because they have a survey and they're thinking about doing a rec center. But even if they don't, we definitely would love the idea of doing some satellite programming in different areas, and this would definitely be a great place for it. So that would be a great discussion. So when you get to the point that you think you're ready for that, I will connect you to the right people, because I know that is of interest for sure to try and reach folks out this way. Yeah. Especially, I think, again, with the area growing, you know, those are all the things. And the community center, I was looking in your notes, I know that's something, there's a help going on. In fact, someone just talked to me about it this week. And so, and I had teams in this area, so I know that it's a desire, but I do know that it's an enormous process, so.
We've got a more modest building that just needs updated and fixed up
But that
to
would be
be,
wonderful.
yeah, at least as a starter home for
Absolutely,
something.
yeah.
Okay.
But there would be an option to use the first floor of this building
Yeah, that
for
exists.
some kind of events as well.
Mhm.
This first floor is,
Programming, yeah, I mean, that would be, again, it's, you just connect me with the person, because the art classes and, you know, our matter of balance, you know, possibly can do some kind of exercise. That's matter of balance, they have an exercise class, and it's like they have chair yoga. So there's some things that we could bring for the older adults in the community. Yeah, so, I think my contact information is in the stuff that Olivia had.
I was gonna say, I can email it to
Yeah,
them
she
too.
has
Yeah.
all my contact information, and I would be very excited to connect you with the folks that make those decisions, and I know they'd like to have a conversation about that. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, that sounds great.
Awesome. Fantastic. Thanks for coming. Make a point to come back at least every 6 months or.
Of course, I would love that. I appreciate you having me tonight. It's good to just kind of update. We're coming out with our progress report here at the end of the month, so I'll make sure that I'll get your emails, and which is going to be a Zoom call, but it'll kind of give you an update what we're doing in the entire county with age friendly, and so you can join if you'd like and get a kind of a more larger view of what's going on. So, all right, thank you. Great, thank you so much.
Thank
thanks,
you.
Jackie.
Thanks a lot, Jackie. All right. Let's go to old business. Over to Steve and Olivia. How about J.R. Smith Security? How's things going?
Let's see, how can I, Charter Spectrum are challenging, let's put it that way. Let's see, we were scheduled one day Tony and I went over to scope the building for installing the security, and we found their contractor getting ready to bore to the wrong building. And fortunately,
I saw an email.
yeah, fortunately we were there and said, "Oh no, this is the one you want." So then we had a date for install. They put that on. It came out on Friday, and it was the Monday national holiday, so that didn't happen. Then we got another date for install, and I'm looking at the note as I'm getting ready that day, and I see that they've got it scheduled for the wrong address. So I called the
Building next door somewhere totally,
over here. So
right.
So I called the installer, say, "Hey, they've got you going to the wrong building." He's like, "No problem. What's the address? I'll meet you there." So we got him to the building. He looked at it, decided how he was going to install it without boring. And then when he put his truck into park and hit the button that says, "I'm starting my work," the dispatcher calls him immediately, says, "Hey, my paperwork says you're at the wrong address. What are you doing?" We had called them and said, "You have the wrong address. Please change the address in your system." Anyway, so the dispatcher says, "Thou shalt not install at that location." So we have another ticket in to get installed.
Okay.
And
Maybe by then our next parks
I
meeting.
would hope
This was the February 7th date.
Yeah.
That according to the minutes, they were scheduled for the January 27th and then changed it to February 7th.
yeah,
So that's what happened on February 7th?
no, this is what happened. Well, this is what happened last week. So it would have been February 20 something.
Oh, okay.
That we finally got somebody where they were supposed to be, when they were supposed to be, and their dispatcher shut it down as the wrong location. He said, that's just a matter of calling them. Once it's done, you just tell them, "Oh, hey, you're billing the wrong address," but it's the same organization. He says, "That's no big deal. We do that all the time." But this dispatcher was having nothing of it.
Well, we should have it done
We'll get
in a
it
month
done.
though, right?
Yes,
By
we will.
next meeting, you'll say, "Hey, we're done and here's your pictures," right? All right.
While I'm on J.R. Smith, can I mention?
Yeah, I
something
got a
else?
couple more notes about JR. Go
Okay.
ahead.
So, we talked about disposition of the bleachers. We've had Chip Carpenter, who does our auctions, in to look at that. So here's the whole list of what we'd like to dispose of, and get your reactions to this. The bleachers. There is old football equipment and snack bar equipment on the one building that's abandoned at this point. So we put that in there. There's 2 coolers in there. They're the stand-up kind you'd find over at a gas station or a convenience store. Those are owned by Pepsi. We're meeting with the Pepsi folks Friday morning, and they'll either take those out or they'll say they're not worth our effort to get them out. Go ahead and sell them. We may keep one of those for the service department.
Okay.
Now it gets a little more tricky. The field lighting that's there is, we had a fire because of a short. There's really no use for that field lighting anymore. So we'd like to, and the crossbars are so badly worn that instead of, Brad's had to lag screw them into other pieces of the structure to get everything to stay up. So we'd like to get rid of the field lighting.
The field lighting, when you say field lighting, I'm picturing the lights that are up on the post.
Yes, it's the football field lighting.
Okay. There's probably 6 or 8 posts, right? 6 or 8 sets of lights.
Yeah, and the
You
posts.
want to take the post out. That'll be part of the sale
Yeah,
deal.
we get rid of the posts. And
They used to play night baseball up there. Are those lights still there as well?
I think it's set up, it probably does a dual purpose. It may not do baseball real well,
Okay,
but
because when I first moved here, that was the local baseball field. J.R. Smith, that's why it was called J.R. Smith. He was the guy that started Little League Baseball in Sunbury.
Mhm.
So,
No one's inquired with you the past year or two to use the lights for baseball, have they?
no.
Okay.
They stopped playing baseball there a long time ago.
And they're really not very functional as they are now.
Right.
They need, it's another thing where we either need to replace them or get rid of them.
Yeah.
Then it gets the goalposts
Mhm.
and the scoreboard. And I can offer the scoreboard to the historical society if they would have an interest in it, but.
Have you talked to the schools yet about any of the equipment?
I will. But,
It's just not modern enough.
Mhm.
no, I don't think it is. I'm sure that new field has one of those nice
Yeah.
scoreboard, and it's probably got an electronic
couple of
message
them. They're
center.
Digital, yeah.
They're really nice, but I'm wondering,
Play replays, who knows, but.
maybe one of the other schools
Yeah.
might want some bleachers or something.
All right.
Maybe they could use something like that. I don't know.
The Little League Baseball plays down at Bewee, so it might be worth checking down there.
But they would have similar problem as we would have because they're not compliant.
Oh, yeah, with the bleachers.
So they would have to
That's right.
invest all that money.
Yep, or cut them down to be 3 rows, and
Right.
and that's kind of tricky. I don't know how you do that and be.
Maintain the integrity of the
Yeah,
bleacher.
have some confidence that they're gonna stand up properly.
Yeah, maybe just have a conversation with them. Maybe it's a
Okay.
phone call or something.
I'll
See if they have any interest at all.
fire off a note. to
If not, I don't have any issue putting all that up.
I don't either.
No,
So at the next meeting, there'll be an ordinance to declare that stuff non-usable,
Right.
non-needed equipment, so.
Okay,
Okay.
that'll be good.
I wanted to make sure.
do we have like a, not short term, but a medium term plan where we will start talking about J.R. Smith Park and doing something? I know we're working on the reservoir now, so I know we only have so much time and resources, but
And That's
I'm
a,
assuming that would be our next project, because if we're getting rid of everything, then
that's a good question. We have the master plan in place and we want to, like Mr. Parkinson initially told us, we want to be implementing something at least every year, or maybe 2 or 3 things to a park.
it seems like with that
And have it
meeting you and I
prioritized.
just attended with the Trail Town folks,
Mhm.
like that's a great hub. Like we can really do some good stuff there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the timing's right because they'll be coming through maybe a year and a half or 2, Mr. Parkinson. Does that sound right? If everything falls into place, the trail behind J.R. Smith potentially.
If the moon, the sun, and the stars all lined up, it could be a year and a half or 2, but it's more likely not going to be,
Closer to 3,
probably closer to 3, yeah.
What about the playground equipment that's there? What are we gonna do with that?
Yeah, good point.
Well,
I don't think we necessarily need it
those
anymore.
plastic pieces,
That brings up, it kind of goes right with the next
yeah,
item of discussion. Do we get rid of that then? That happened this week with the 2 items?
we pulled them, yeah.
Okay.
There's still, what's still there? Swings and a stump?
Yes, I think so.
Is it still usable? There's nothing wrong with
Those
that.
things are useful, yeah. And it had been, Dave would probably have this perspective, Tim might have seen it. Brad kind of shared with me that it's been shrinking over the years
Yeah.
because we'd have our risk management folks from the liability insurance come out and say, that's not code anymore. That's not code anymore. So it's been kind of shrinking down, and that.
It's probably a good thing because I don't see that equipment being part of our new and improved plan.
Right, that's why I wanted to discuss like what,
Hopefully it'll
are we
last.
just gonna keep what we have there for now? And then when it's time to do something new, then we'll look at the swings and,
I think that's the
Just
right
keep
thing to
this-
do since we're
Okay.
likely to redo that in some way, shape,
yeah, I
or
don't think
form.
that we need to
3 or
invest
4
any
years.
money in there. I just wasn't sure if we'll just keep the swings, you think?
Yeah.
We may want to look at just removing it all though, because there are risk factors involved. One of the things that happened when I was village administrator was that was the hangout for kids that used to go in and sneak smokes out of the certifying station.
Mm-hmm.
And they'd go over on the playground, and they were kids that were too big to be using that playground equipment. But that's how it all got busted up. That's where they go hang out and smoke cigarettes. And so moms and dads wouldn't take their little kids there to play on the playground because all these teenagers were there smoking. And it's been an ongoing concern for quite a long time. And none of that equipment has been in very good shape for years.
Mm-hmm.
So.
But you or Brad's been over there recently, and of course, he had to take the recent stuff out. He's looked at the swings, and they're still functionable safely.
Yeah, he would have told me, I want to pull those too,
Okay.
if he thought they were.
Okay.
But to your point though, I think we can keep an eye on that, especially if the new security doesn't,
Mm-hmm.
then that might be something we need to consider in the future.
Yeah, because where we thought we'd be looking is not at that playground.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
How
And no
often do
one's
you-
going to that playground now. A parent isn't going to take their kids to that playground
No.
because there's nothing there. So it's going to be kids that are out without their parents that are going to that.
Okay.
It's not being used for, and now without football being there, like kids would use it at football games, little siblings would go, but now it's not being used in the way that it was intended to be used.
Right.
So I don't know that it's necessary to have that there anymore.
And I've been involved in a couple communities where they do a community build playground, and those are, one, you get a lot of playground equipment because all your labor is basically volunteers, plus you get a nice community event. But it's a challenge, and you got to make sure you have enough folks.
Yeah, and I'm not sure, like to Mr. Gross's point, that that's in our master plan.
Mhm.
I think that's a great idea, maybe somewhere else, but I think we're sort of at a point now where we're like just getting everything out so that we can rebuild up something that we really want for Sunbury.
I got you.
Mhm.
Blank slate is a good thing. Okay.
How about, I've got a few more items here and kind of getting pressed on time a little bit. How about reservoir plans, Steve? Can you comment on that?
Yeah, if you'll flip in your packet to the last 2 pages.
Mhm.
I did a pictorial of kind of the fishing pier options.
Yes.
And we've got kind of 4 ways to build this thing.
Mhm.
One is a cantilever, which overhangs the water, and you have to have something weighty on the other end to make the cantilever. And one would be to use the control structure that's there as a base for building out the fishing pier.
Mhm.
The other one is a stick build where it's freestanding. That's going to be a challenge because of the 5 feet of freeboard that we have to maintain per ODOT or per ODNR.
Mhm.
So we'd have to have, 60 feet basically of walkway to meet an ADA standard. So you're either running parallel to the bank and then out or something like that. The other downside of a stick build is that we would have to put in foundational piers,
Oh, yeah.
and we don't want to pierce the clay liner of the reservoir. That'd be about the worst thing that could happen.
Mm.
The other option is a floating dock. We'd have the same challenge of how do we get people down there ADA compliant, except I was talking with a boat or a dock manufacturer today and asked them the direct question, can we have a floating dock and have the deck 5 feet above the floats? And he goes, there's a way to do that. We talked about the water level changes very little in that reservoir. There's not much in terms of waves. And so he said it's possible with a couple guy wires, and they call them dead man anchors, that just, keep it from doing this too much. And then we could just run, the entryway would be right at the bank level. So we've really, and Dave and I had a conversation about it this afternoon, and I think we boiled it down to investigating the control structure and investigating a floating dock.
Mhm.
If you had the floating dock, how much variability is available to the depth of the water?
When we have control structure, that's the last thing that needs to happen to that. We're going to put some windows in it so that it maintains that 5 feet of freeboard. He said, he being the dock guy, said it could handle a foot or so of movement. And really, the only water that gets in there anymore is what comes out of the sky.
Is rainwater, yeah.
So, the greatest variation we get is maybe 5 inches in a day, and that's when we get, once every.
What if we went for a long period without any rain and the water evaporated and it went down?
That would be problematic. It will be hinged. It may pull the dock in a little bit.
Right.
No, there shouldn't, you don't foresee any safety concern or danger in them, regardless of how much it might fluctuate in terms of walking out on it then.
No, they say you can stabilize it sufficiently for that to work.
Okay.
The other thing, when I read the grant, I found where it says if we're building a structure, which this would be a structure, it's going to need an engineer's stamp. So we'll be engaging CT to kind of go through this thought process of we've got 2 options. Which one, are they both feasible? And then which one would be a better approach to it?
And in general view, is any of them in a reasonable price range?
We had the bid, so it's part of the grant.
So what's reasonable? I believe for the purpose of the grant application, we had $60,000 budgeted for the fishing pier.
What kind was that when you guys were thinking that through, Dave?
I don't know that we had specified any particular type.
The 2 that you're looking at, though, could they potentially fall within that amount, do you think? The floating or the
Floating,
control
I think,
structure?
would certainly fall within that amount.
Yeah, if I had to guess a hierarchy, I would suggest that floating is probably the most affordable option available. The question is, it probably also has the most annual O&M upkeep type of stuff. We haven't fully vetted this out with the vendor yet, but there's a possibility that it may have to get pulled every winter to protect it from ice.
It's possible to assume that the amount of fluctuation in the height of it would keep it ADA accessible, because you can't have over a certain steepness to ADA ramps.
That's true, and I think so. I don't see that water level fluctuating very much.
Right.
Even if you had a 3-inch hard rain, you don't get those very often. Around here, the evaporation is equal to the rainfall for the most part within
And
again.
there's not runoff going into it because it's elevated.
It's just the openness of the top of the bank. So I really think that, these floating docks are meant for rivers and even bigger bodies of water that probably do fluctuate on a much larger basis. And so I think we could make sure that the dock was far enough out so that if it did fluctuate up or down 6 inches, it wouldn't result in a ramp slope of greater than 8%.
And you'll look at service life and maintenance costs when you're analyzing that, right? That's something that I'll be interested in
Well, our proposal to design this wasn't that in-depth. It was, we would look at and evaluate a couple of different types of fishing pier options for you, for your consideration. But, to what extent in detail we dive in, do a deep dive into the analysis of each. Our proposal doesn't provide for a great deep dive into multiple types of options. It'll be more of a.
I think if you've identified those two, maybe we could at least get potential average maintenance cost and its average life.
I think we can look at some generalities in the pluses and minuses of a couple of different alternatives for your consideration. If we go in that direction, certainly, yeah.
Okay. Very good. Anything else over there? The reservoir, Steve, you want to enlighten us on?
Not on the reservoir park. That will play into the whole building.
We're studying the rest of the ground,
yes.
the grounds, right?
Yeah.
Okay. We've engaged a couple of vendors, project management type vendors, to help us potentially drill down what we could do over there and give us some ideas and costs and things like that. So we'll see how that plays out. A couple more items here real quick. That is 6:17. New business, J.R. Smith, Genoa Christian Academy. Can you comment on that, Olivia?
Yeah, that was more just to let you guys know that the Genoa Christian Academy is going to have baseball practice there on Mondays, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays. And that'll just be in April and May. All their games are going to be away, so they're just looking for a place to play, get kids or get guys together and practice. And they'll have, like I said, the games will be away. So they were just looking for a field. And now that J.R. Smith is empty, we thought that could be a good.
They won't need lights.
Nope. They won't need lights.
They're not gonna have them.
Exactly.
Or goalpost, right?
Right, nothing like that.
Or bleachers.
Well, we need to put an outhouse out there for them or anything.
No, they said they're good. They're
Okay.
just gonna do practices for a couple hours. So,
Okay.
yep,
Okay, and that's through May,
yes.
April and May.
April and May.
Monday, Tuesday, Thursday, Friday.
Yes.
Okay. All right, very good. Let's go to Big Walnut Day of Services. That is set, I think, for May the 6th. Is that correct? Why don't you tell us what kind of communication you've had with the
okay.
schools?
Yeah, so we've had a couple of different people from Big Walnut reaching out to us, trying to organize. It sounds like in the previous years that they, got with us to do different event that, whatever we needed help with.
Mhm.
So I've been talking with Brad about coming up with some ideas, and then, Steve mentioned that we're wanting to plant the Buckeye tree for Lynn Weatherby.
Yeah,
And maybe that could be a good.
yeah, I had communicated with Scott Weatherby last few days. He was going to try to be here tonight, but he sent me a note he could not. But now that I have a date set potentially for the planting, I'm going to
Now it's more concrete, yeah.
try to be, hopefully he can make it to the next meeting.
And when you say Big Walnut, yeah, it's actually Big Walnut
Big-
Middle School.
Yes, I believe so, yeah, yep.
And hopefully for the next meeting, I'll have some more detail on what kind of research I did on the Buckeye tree and the type. And I met with Aaron now, but many, many months ago out here to identify a location.
Yep.
So I can.
And if you guys know of anything that we did in the previous years that may be helpful, I know we have the Adopt a Park through our volunteers program, maybe something like that they could help with. I think they mentioned that they did some mulching at the cemetery.
Mulching around the town square building
Okay,
has always been something that we did.
perfect, okay. So yeah, I have that meeting with them on Friday, so I'll get back to you and let you know what we
Projects
come up
they've done.
with.
They've helped with cleaning up and mulching around on the square, and they've actually gone to people's homes and helped them with stuff. They do all kind of things. Anything they can get somebody to let them do, they'll go do it. It's pretty interesting.
Mhm.
I wonder if it would be appropriate or if there would be a way to maybe connect with Source Point. If there was any
Yeah.
connect.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Reach out to Jackie. and-
Jackie would let you know.
Well, yeah, because I have a meeting with them on Friday, so I can say if you're looking for more, because it sounds like they're really trying to come up with a lot of different unique things to do. So even connecting them with Jackie would probably be, very helpful.
The other thing they've helped with is picking up trash around the cemetery. Just, when they're in there helping with the mulch, they've had trash bags with them to clean up trash around there and all that kind of stuff.
Mhm.
They're willing to help it with anybody, so.
Yeah, I think Brad would be great, obviously, the best contact, and
Yeah,
Jackie.
he'd be good for suggestions.
Right.
Mhm. Okay. I had a couple of more items, but we're up against time we can talk about later. Does anyone else have anything else they want to
I have
mention?
one question.
Mhm.
The drainage along the Fallen Heroes Trail down there where it goes down next to the creek,
Yes,
I understand that's a low, bad spot. But is there any way we could put in some kind of a drain that goes under the sidewalk to carry it over to the creek so that, if you go past there right now, it looks like a mud pit down there. And it's not an attractive trail that anybody's gonna want to even step on, let alone
Mhm.
walk on.
I had some communication, I think it was yesterday with Wes Hall, maybe a day before, with CT. He had indicated to me that the final grading had yet to take place, and correct me if I'm wrong, Mr. Parkinson, but I believe the final grading piece was going to include some extra work there with potentially a swale, some other runoff control measure that they felt would alleviate the problem. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay.
And that, I think, was supposed to was going to happen this week. Steve, you met out there, I think, earlier this week, didn't you? What happened there? Why don't you tell us?
Well, I walked with Dave and Daniel Spiker. They showed, and we walked the next phase. And then we continued on down to the built phase and talked about how we solve the drainage issue, or how we make I don't know that we'll ever solve it because it is in a flood, how we improve it.
Mhm.
And, just as you said, what was conveyed by Wes is what I
think that work is scheduled anytime now, if I'm not mistaken, right,
Okay.
Dave?
So the contractor hoped to get out there tomorrow or Friday. I have informed our inspectors that I want to be notified so I can be on site when he's there to make sure that he's doing what we expect him to be doing. So yes, if it doesn't rain and it's not supposed to, Thursday or Friday.
Okay, excellent. That answer, okay,
Yeah.
all right, very good. Real quick, can you update us on the phase 3 and 4, Mr. Parkinson?
Yes, that was the purpose of our field walk with Mr. Piles earlier this week, was to show him the alignment that we picked and some of the challenges that we've run into, and make sure that our solutions are satisfactory to his position. And we think we've resolved to both parties' satisfaction again, that how we're going to finalize the plans. Just this afternoon, I received a set of draft plans from Dan Schweikert. I haven't had a chance to look at them yet. That'll be on my to-do list first thing in the morning. And we'll see. He thinks he wants me to check to make sure that he tended to all of the discussions and that we're heading in the right direction. We expect to, and if he has, and I expect that he has, but if he has, we're not a very long trip from where we are now to final draft plans, and we will then submit those to the city. Our goal is still to get the plans and specifications tidied up in final form, so the council can provide a authorization to bid at its meeting in 2 weeks.
Excellent.
Cool.
Okay, very good. Thank you. That's all I have. We're pretty close here. Anything
Motion
else?
to adjourn.
We have a motion by Mr. Martin,
I'll second.
second by Ms. Cooper.
Tim Ghost,
Yes.
Cindy Cooper. Yes. Dave Martin.
Yes.